Today I'm dealing with a request. Someone wrote to me asking if I would talk about chariots for a while. He was a little mystified as to why people would use chariots when cavalry might be a viable alternative. Well, okay, now there are three principal kinds of chariotry. There's the lights, the heavies, and the scythed. The heavies and the scythed are quite different creatures, which I'll talk about another day. I'm going to talk instead about the main type from the Golden Age, if you like. Well, actually, it was the Bronze Age. So to call the Golden Age of the chariot was the Bronze Age. I think you know what I mean by that. Golden in a metaphorical sense. And this is the light chariot. A light chariot has two horses at the front and a very light cab at the back, which can hold typically two men. And yes, they are light. Reconstructions have been made, and one man can pick one up quite easily. And the first thing to understand about them is that they predate cavalry, as far as we know. We're talking about the very early days of history here. We don't have many written sources, and we have to make a number of guesses. But so far as we can tell, the light chariot, in a military context, predates cavalry. Now, why might that be so? Well, one reason is the livestock they had to work with. They didn't have massive destriers, the huge horses bred for war yet. Those were many centuries in the future. What they had to work with were little ponies. And a big hefty guy in armour on the back of a little pony isn't quite so good for the pony. And the pony is trying to carry this huge guy and can't go so fast. But the pony can go a lot faster if you put two ponies out the front, and rather than have something on top of the pony, you have something behind the pony resting its weight on wheels, and then the wheels go round and round and round, and you go flying across the countryside very fast. Very fast. They were the fastest thing around. The fastest way of getting from anywhere to anywhere would be by chariot, although of course you would have to have a nice road or flat bit of countryside, otherwise you'd quickly come a cropper. Now they already had carts. But the cart is a practical thing. You stick your livestock on it, you stick your harvest on it, and so forth, and you move something from one place to another. Whereas a chariot, most of the time, is of no real purpose at all, other than for showing off in and proving your status. You see, if you can show that you're rich enough to have a chariot, which is like a sports cart, well, then clearly you're a man of some status and to be reckoned with. And you got the emergence of, well, not the emergence of, you got a continuation of military elites. So it was one way a military elite could show how elite it was. Look, we've got loads and loads of chariots. That's how rich and high status we are. You can't really do much practical in your chariot other than zoom about and show off. So it's a lot like a sports car. It's a two-seater thing that young men like to show off in. Now, when it came to war, of course, that was the time that the men would expect their military elite to make a pretty good show. So the military elite would get up all their chariots out, and then they could see and be seen on the battlefield, and they could zoom around hurling insults and javelins at their rival high-status men from the other side. And you could use them a bit like dragoons with dismounted warriors. So you could zoom forward into battle, leave your driver, my good man, James, you just look after the chariot, hop out nonchalantly, throw a couple of javelins, a few insults, say, come on in, Oh, and if they do look as though they're going to charge you, you can go, ha, can't catch me, leap back into your chariot and you're away again, because you've got a sort of a battle escape pod. Now, if you are going into war riding a battle escape pod, then your own men are going to be a little bit unimpressed with you if you hang around at the back, because you're hanging around at the back of the battle in an escape pod. So it probably behooves you to go up in front and make a decent show for a bit and inspire the troops. So that's another thing you could do in a chariot. You could take on, of course, the chariots of the opposition quite effectively, and you could charge infantry. And we know, at least we believe, because there are historical accounts of certain battles, that this was attempted occasionally. Now, you may think that the horses out in front would be hideously vulnerable. And yeah, to steady, well-drilled massed troops, they would be hideously vulnerable. But if a chariot is charging you, that's an awful lot of hard hooves hammering the ground and the trundling of the wheels, and they're really big, bigger than anything else around, and they go really fast, faster than anything else you've seen, and they're kicking up lots of dust, and they're coming straight towards you, and you're the guy at the front. Do you really want to be there? What happens to you if they don't stop? Well, if the line wavers, if the guys at the front don't want to be there, the formation breaks, then a lot of infantry could be swept away by chariots. But of course, If the line holds because you've got a large, well drilled and equipped, disciplined army, which is something which takes quite a sophisticated society to produce, then the chariots are not going to want to charge it and they're going to have to swerve. Maybe they'll give it another go later, or maybe another form of attack will have to be tried. Maybe they can get round the flank. So they could be used for delivering men to battle, but you could never deliver very large numbers of men to battle. They could be used for charging, and they predate cavalry. Now, you may think, well, but surely it's a much more obvious idea to just get on a horse and go into battle that way. Yeah, imagine you're the first guy who comes up with that bright idea. So you say, do you know what? My horse, I'm going to get on my horse and gallop on it into battle. Your friends might look at you. Sorry, what? We all know what horses are like. They're little, skittish. Well, they're not very little. I mean, they're quite big, but they're ponies, and they're skittish, and they are very intolerant of pain. And no one yet has trained one for doing this, and so they're known for not being able to do this. You're going to try what? You're going to sit on it, and all right. So how are you going to stay on it when you're trying to fight with your sword and shield? Huh? You haven't thought this through, have you? Right. And how are you going to parry anything? If someone twangs an arrow at your little pony, how are you going to parry that? Huh? What are you going to do about it? Okay. Or you go shooting out on your own in front of the army because you're so much faster, and then you're going to take on the enemy on your own because no one else is going to follow you. No one else is going to be stupid enough. What you think? Oh, you're going to use what, a bit in the bridle? It'll just spit it out, mate. Now, what you want is to pull something into battle. That might work. That's a slightly less stupid idea. But the first person who tried being a cavalryman probably came a cropper, and everyone said, yeah, we were right. It was a stupid idea. And perhaps generations would go by with people saying, yeah, it's been tried. It's been tried. Coming into battle on a horse is a really stupid idea. You need once you've got a cavalry corps, you've got a large number of horses, which you can use to train lots more horses, and you can get them used to battle and so forth, and you've got developed the right kind of saddle and so forth, and the right kind of tactics, then maybe cavalry becomes viable. But in the very early days, the idea of riding into battle you're going to ride into battle on a horse probably came across as a very stupid idea.